What's up, everybody? We on the Northwest Jukebox Podcast with James The Juggernaut featuring Ready Ron Beats today. How you doing, Ron?
So far, so good. What's happening?
Yes, sir. So let's jump into it, man. Where are you from?
Oh, originally Brooklyn, New York.
Tell us about that. What was that like?
It depends. I mean, keep it real with you. New York City itself is the port city. That every single culture except for Mexico, every single culture from around the world entered before migrating to the rest of the U.S. So you ended up either very ignorant or very cultured. I chose to be cultured because I grew up with pretty much everybody.
Okay. So what was it like growing up in New York? Because that was what, 70s, 80s, 90s?
Keep going. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, before you got into music, what was New York like?
I came from a very tight knit family. So even though we didn't have a lot, we had a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of love and we're a very, very close family. So
Okay. So you had a lot of siblings?
um, my mother had five children. Actually, my mother had four children. And
Okay.
then met my father, and here I am. Now, prior to me, because my dad was a military man, he had a family prior. So I'll just roughly say there's about nine of us all together. Because he had a family prior, and we don't do the word step. We do brother and sister. So,
Right, right, right. So, and you guys all keep in communication?
oh, 100%.
For sure. So, before we agree to do this interview, there's some things that we'll just kind of leave to the side. But can you tell me how you got into music, at what age, and who was doing music at that time?
So that's kind of a loaded question, and I'll explain what I mean. Because there
Sure.
was no there was no getting into music. There was music always involved in the home.
Okay.
There was always music involved in the home. And being the youngest of five siblings, each and every member had a different taste in music. And so I had the opportunity to absorb all of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether it be blues, whether it be jazz, whether it be soul, whether it be real R&B or rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to be exposed to all of this. Plus, being in New York, you're hearing all types of different sounds all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine what that would be like. And so, I mean, obviously, rap didn't just pop out like it's a 40 or 50-year-old genre at this point, but before,
Pause. It's older than that. It's just being recorded, and I don't mean like record or song wise. It's older than 50 years. I'm just saying on the record, it's 50 years old. But before the radios, before any of that, or the rest of the world in the country heard it, it was being done. Whether it was spoken word poetry, whether it was revolutionary poetry, you know what I mean, like the last poets or Gil Scott Heron, it was always there, but it became a different form of rhythmic American poetry.
okay. So, what were some of the first rappers? Again, so when you entered into making music, as you said, music was always in your life. When you became a producer, rapper, or however you started DJ, who were because you grew up in the heart of hip hop.
Yeah, one
So,
hundred percent.
so around that time, who was prominent and who did you rub elbows with that we may not know?
So no matter where you go, no matter where you're from, you never know who's gonna pop off.
Right.
And we have a lot of community events, whether it be indoor or outdoor, block parties, social events and stuff like that. And you'd be real surprised that some of those people are the ones that are now considered pioneers and stuff like that, like the Funky Four Plus One More, the Crash Crew, Bambata, Flash, and them. Because most of the time, this stuff was being done outdoors in the parks. What they were doing was they were hooking their DJ up to the city's electrical system, and they were just doing their thing. The DJs would play, whoever was rapping would come out and rap. And I mean, I'm not like a corny name dropper type of guy. Let's just say I've experienced sharing moments with some people who are now considered hip hop pioneers prior to, the Def Jam era, and I'm talking the Sugar Hill era before this shit was even on records.
Right.
Or no, there was some that was recorded, but never made radio play. You just heard it in the neighborhoods or on cassettes. So
Okay. Okay. So, and what, and like, what decade was this? Like, was this like 80s, 90s?
we're talking about late '70s, early '80s.
Okay.
Because a
And
lot
at
of
this,
people.
and at this time, you were how old?
Oh shit, I was a preteen.
Okay. So like 12, 13, 11.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say
Okay.
that.
Okay. So you basically grew up with hip hop.
100%.
That's awesome. So 11, 12, 13 years old, all this is happening. Some guys are older, some guys are probably your age, because hip hop is a pretty young genre, even it being 50, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
do you feel that within the last 50 years with this genre being as young as it is, even though it's hit a mile mark with 50, um did you anticipate seeing a lot of people that were working back then become who they are now? Now I know you just mentioned a corny, not wanting to be a corny name dropper, but I mean we're talking, Grandmaster Flash, we're talking Kumo D, we're talking Busy B, we're talking, Big Daddy Kane, we're talking, like all those guys. I mean, all those guys were, dude. I'm 30. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So like that was,
we're talking Spoonie G and Super Rhyme like I said, I mentioned, the Funky Four plus one more. I mentioned the Crash Crew, and
yeah.
these were groups that they never got national spotlight,
Okay.
but the respect that they have is incredible. Now, to answer your question, I'm gonna say yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, I expected to see them, move forward the way that they move forward, but no, you know, um, not like the way that it did,
Okay.
because there was such a big push during that time. It was such a big push, especially after Sugar Hill Gang.
Right.
There was a big push, but there
Well,
were people that
and they did Rappers Delight, right?
they did Rappers Delight,
Okay.
but there were people that were doing it before them. They just needed something clean cut. And let's clear the record up. Rapper's Delight is not the first record that had rap on it, rap on it that had radio play. That was not
Who
the first record.
who
In the
was?
same in the same year before them, there was a funk band called the Fatback Band that featured a guy named King Tim III. That was the very first that you consider hip hop rap that got radio play. At the end of the year, toward the end of the year, is when Sugar Hill Gang dropped.
Got you. And
And
what
if
the rec
anybody wants, and if anybody wants to challenge me, you can Google it.
and what their record was just more popular?
Um, it was more rap based.
Okay.
Sugar Hill
Okay.
Gang was more rap based, where the Fatback Band was really a funk band. They were really a funk band, and it was a great song.
Okay.
It was a great
So
song.
yeah, but getting into, so being around that, so what did you dive into first? Were you, because you've done a plethora of work, right? So were you a DJ first? Were you a producer first? Were you a rapper first? And what got you into that first position?
Okay, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
nobody just did one thing.
Okay.
Nobody did just one thing. We were all amazed at the DJs, and everybody wanted to try DJing. And then when the MCs, let's just say rappers, because there's a difference. When the
Right.
MCs started, really pushing, you always wanted to try a little of this. I was always one of those that liked to be on the technical side of things. I like the music. I like the whole time invested into going from one turntable to another in order to create one sound. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I had cousins who DJ'd. I had a brother who DJ'd, and so like I said, I was always around it. So I did a little of this, I did a little of that, I did a little of this, I did a little of that. I even at one point I was really I wrote graffiti. Used to break dance the whole nine because hip hop, the culture itself,
Right.
it's more than just one thing. It's a whole culture. It's a whole culture.
So kind of fast forwarding to 90s, early 90s, you know, we were seeing the mid 90s, we were seeing the
The evolution.
no, yes, but I guess it's like from what I know, right? Hip hop was very like, you know, you had like the KRS One, the Kumo D's. It was very battle based, right? With the MCs. Am I correct on that?
Well, yes and no. It was very originality based. Like now,
Okay.
the way this everybody sounds the same nowadays. Same spit style, same type of beat, same this, same that.
Right,
No,
right,
it
right,
was
right, right. No, I get that. But
so
what I'm saying,
it
but
was
with these, no, go ahead. Sorry, sorry.
it was very braggadocious, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Battle based, yeah. But but believe it or not, hip hop was almost like the news. It was almost like the news, like when Melly Mel said broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the station, just don't care. It was a way of passing the information on of what we had lived through and what we experienced. Even though now, it's a whole it's 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 such a I don't know, man. It's not really I hate to say this, but it's not really a good thing.
yeah,
It's kind of the situation is very sad because of how the industry is controlled because people forget it's not just for the love of the music. When they say the music industry, they're talking the business side, you
the
know,
money.
and not just the money, but who's really in control of what and what direction it's going, you know, and especially nowadays when you don't, I mean, something was said a long time ago. It was a song that said video killed the radio show, right? Because I remember tuning in to Mr. Magic or 92 K2U, back in New York, just to hear. And then when the video shows started coming out, people were more focused on what was visual. Now with the era of the internet and everything, it's crazy. And there's a good thing and there's a bad thing about that too, because artists aren't really getting paid the way they used to because now it's controlled. The industry itself is controlled. You don't have the big independents like you used to, the independent companies. And now that the majors are pretty much in control of everything, you don't get the variety. You don't get the variety because now I was telling somebody I just did a podcast with I did the Chop It Up podcast with Sos Dior, and I told him that now the only DJs that are actually playing music that they want to play are college radios,
Yeah.
where the majors are given a list of what to play over and over and over again. And so you are not getting the variety that you normally would get back then.
Okay. So where do you think that started? When do you think that started?
Ooh, ooh, that's another loaded question because people can even Google some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Like there there's a memo about how the day hip hop changed, where they crossed, where they wanted to control and make sure that it worked side by side with the private prison systems and everything.
Right.
Um, it started changing in the late '90s.
Okay.
It started really changing in the late '90s because at some point Viacom bought BET. You know who Viacom is, right?
No.
Viacom, I believe, is the company that owns MTV and VH1.
Okay.
So when they bought out BET, Black entertainment television wasn't owned by black people anymore. And the first show that they got rid of right away was The Basement with Big Tigger. Now, Big Tigger was really good. Now, MTV had a rap show too. It was Yo MTV Raps, which was cool, but they got rid of that. So
Yeah.
Big Tigger used to invite artists, interview them, put them in the booth. It
Yeah.
didn't matter whether you were from New York, whether you were from California, whether you were from West Africa, whether you were from Germany. He just, you got variety. And it all changed once they got rid of that because now Viacom is in control
Hmm.
of what's being spoon fed to the masses. So once you eliminate that show, now you're in control of spoon feeding poison. You're only
Yeah.
hearing one style or one sound and this and that, and you're missing out on other good quality MCs and hip hop music. That's when the whole shit changed, where now the women, it all has to be sexually related, and the men, it all had to be either, you're violent or you're selling drugs. And you did have that in 90s hip hop, but a lot of times they were in their stories, they were telling you, I was doing this to get out of the situation. I was doing this to get my mother out of the projects and get her a house. And I found a way to get out of it myself and become legal. And then they
Right.
just started focusing on just the one thing.
Okay. So to come back into the Ready Ron story, when did you start seeing success and your ambitions as an entrepreneur and an artist?
Um, to be honest with you, I don't see success. Can I
Okay.
explain?
Sure.
This is more personal for me. This
Yeah.
is more personal. You know, um, I love the culture. It was a part of me. I was it's embedded in my soul and in my heart. And so whether I make $1 or $1 million, it's not about really the business side with me. If I get the money, I get the money. It's the love of the culture. And that's where I'm at with it. See, right now they have people fooled with all this jewelry and all this flashing, and it takes the focus away from the quality of the music and the art form. Because you've got guys that are, and I'm not here to judge anybody's hard work, but you got cats that are garbage that just because they can be manipulated into what's the right word, into a gimmick,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, can I be very candid?
Yeah.
You can have one guy who's very socially conscious and
Mhm.
a very, very, very good wordsmith,
Mhm.
and these record companies will not give him a deal because that's not what they feel is selling. They don't want to invest and push that. They want to follow a trend. So they'll say, hey, look, we know you're good at this, but we've got a guy over here that's willing to put this monkey suit on and stick a banana up his ass. And that's what they go with because they're willing to conform to that and get away from the good quality art form because of more of the business side. Because in reality, these people are really there to make money off of you.
So, with that being said, somebody just passed away, right?
Irv Gotti?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's your backyard, New York.
Okay. Irv Gotti was another one of those that was one of the last of the great independents. Do you know what I mean? With Murder Inc. and yada yada blah blah blah. And even though they got a lot of radio play with their music, they actually were in a position to do what they wanted to do. I have nothing against Ja Rule or anybody else that they've worked with, whether it be Ashanti or that, because a lot of that was good music, and at the time they dominated the charts.
So, how
But
do you
on the
feel?
but
Right.
on the flip side, the they weren't being completely controlled. You know,
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think, because nobody that I've worked with or anybody that's in this industry At least most of the people that I've talked to, right, would have an actual insight, opinion. You know, do you feel that their their time against, other powerhouses like 50 and Eminem damaged what they could have done longevity wise? Because Ja Rule and Irv had a good run. But if you look at it like once they crossed paths with 50 and 50 had Dre and Eminem behind them, it was over. Do you
I
think
think
that
I think that their opportunity was there, and the mistake that they made was, and you know what? I'm not even here to judge and say what mistake was made.
right?
The one thing that's hard to do is get away from your pride and your ego. And your
Yeah,
pride and your ego, it's either fight or flight. Um, I wouldn't have even fought, to be honest with you.
you want it.
No, I would have continued to make good quality music because you had a good fan base,
And
regardless of what the streets are saying.
yeah, yeah, and they should have just kept it at that because
They were making really, really good music, and I mean, the radio hits over and over and
they did
over and
they did they,
over.
they did, and I think the mistake that they made. I mean, they went at a couple cats. They went against a couple cats and jock some styles. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? And they did. They was sounding like 50, and then there was some people say he sounded like X for a minute, and like I feel like and I only ask that because I mean 50 Cent dominated like anybody he went against, like he dominated. As now,
Well, yeah.
so
Oh
so
yeah,
so growing
he was,
up,
yeah, he was
go
relentless. He was relentless with it.
did he always have that reputation?
I don't know personally, but as you look back
Mm.
in any of the documentaries or the history of any of that whole movement,
Mm.
they went out of their way. People got tried to get in the way of his success, and I would have felt the same way too if my home city and the people around me were going out of their way to keep me from moving ahead. When he
Yeah.
got the opportunity with Dre and Eminem, he went all out. And that's when, like prior to the art of robbing and all of that stuff, he kept trying to shop for a deal and New York wouldn't fuck with him. So he got the alley oop from Eminem and Dre, and it was over from there.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Urban them had something to do with that because they were already established,
100%.
you know. And so
100%.
and
And so
so
what
and
that did was that opened the door for them to get what came to them.
yeah,
So you're gonna block me from my blessings. So your number one guy, I'm going at him all guns blazing.
got you. So and I just want to touch on that because it's something recent. You know what I'm saying? And it's some good New York history, especially when it comes to hip hop. But again, tailoring back to the conversation about you, you've worked with a lot of people. You've worked with a lot of people. You've seen some spotlight, right? And so when it comes to your producing, overall, I mean, what's some of the biggest accomplishments that you've made, and some of the records that you've been a part of, um because some people may not know that you are a big staple in earlier hip hop.
I was one of the lucky ones that got recognized overseas.
Yeah.
I got recognized overseas, yeah, and less in the states because I had turned my life completely around and had put this aside for a while. And
Yeah.
after my children became a certain age, it was the daughter that's actually here that told me that if I don't get this out of my system before closing the chapter in my life, I'll never forgive myself. And so I knew that there was a certain sound that I was privy to and I preferred, you know, and I knew that the direction of things have changed because they started calling traditional classic hip hop underground when there's nothing underground about it because this is the only genre that they want to put an age limit on, and they want to put, stipulations on when a style is a style is a style. It all falls in with everything else. But the word should be classic. And so, I never shot out to hit any big names or anything. I just love doing it. So the consistency behind it, I ended up getting lucky and catching somebody's ear outside of the country. Um,
Yeah.
Nico Tam out of Hong Kong, China,
And when
and
was
they.
this?
Oh, this was a while ago. This was a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a while ago. And outside of the country, there's a very, very, very big boom bap scene because other than Korea with K-pop, the industry isn't as controlled. You're still hearing variety. Like
Yeah.
now, certain groups that deserve the respect that they deserve, some of them can't even fill a sports bar. But if they go overseas, they can fill a soccer stadium.
No,
If they,
and that's true. And before I tack onto that, can you explain how that benefited you? Sorry, I'm taking notes right now and trying to tailor, the conversation a certain way. So if anybody's watching,
okay,
it's not that I'm
so
ignoring Ron. It's just
okay. I saw what was going on with as far as the industry, and I never really wanted to be a part of it.
okay, okay,
I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be respected for being able to contribute to something to it. You get what I'm
right,
saying?
yeah,
But the way the industry was going and all of that, I didn't want any parts of that. I just loved the music. So I
mm.
continued to make. I continued to post instrumentals. I continued, and I had no idea people were listening.
And so, but with that being said, what I'm trying to pinpoint is, Ron, is that when you had that success overseas, what was it, and how did it impact you?
Um, we're not gonna get into what it was, but we'll get into the impact.
Okay,
It was love.
okay,
It was love because it made me feel like I had something to actually contribute, and that the time and the energy that I put into loving this culture so much, somebody decided that it was something that they felt, and we had the opportunity to share a moment.
okay,
You get what
okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not a because I'm not listen. I'm not one of them weirdos, man. That's got a big head or anything like that. I'm a real humble dude, and this is about the art form and the love of the art form more than anything. If I
right.
get paid and it comes off and I G off, that's beautiful. If not, I'm recognized as somebody who put in the work
Yeah,
and love this culture. And I don't mean corporate rap music. I mean the culture, hip hop itself.
yeah, absolutely. So you had success overseas in Asia.
Yeah,
Okay, I've noticed that you're not the only one. They also seem privy to West Coast hip hop.
very much so. Now in Japan,
Mm.
they even have a almost like a cholo scene over there.
That's what I was gonna get to. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm getting
yeah,
to.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that, but not just Japan. You know, China and China and embrace some of the artists over in China, embrace some of my beats, and then Taiwan. They're very neck and neck and very close, and so what you won't hear in Hong Kong or in China, you'll hear in Taiwan, and what you won't hear, and then it's vice versa. What you will hear there, because I did a song with the cat Billy Soul, and he got rotation over in Taiwan, and that's how I was introduced to Nico Tam and all the other few people that I was lucky enough to work with.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's real interesting how overseas a good friend of mine, Baby Easy E, the son of Easy E,
Mm-hmm.
he'll make a couple thousand a show out here in the States and go overseas. He's looking at, you know, a lot, and it go
I
ahead.
told you before that this industry is controlled now.
Yeah.
It's controlled beyond and outside the hands of And I don't want to make it a black or white thing or a
Yeah.
black or
No,
black
no, no,
thing,
but but express
but
yourself like,
but
yeah,
but that's what it is. That's what it is. You have people in boardrooms that are making decisions about certain music and what to avoid and what to play and stuff like that. Who are over there, they just love the music. They love the
yeah,
music. Like even Germany. Germany's crazy. They've got a squad of producers called the Snow Goons, right? And if
yeah,
anybody watching this, look up the Snow Goons. They do classic traditional hip hop, and they have such a respect for veteran MCs, man, that you wouldn't even know that Onyx, Slam. They
yeah.
put out a project with the Snow Goons. It went triple platinum overseas. Um, Reef the Lost Cause. Even I can go through a list of names of artists from the '90s and the 2000s that they show no love and no respect for. But over there, since they were the pioneers of this shit, they were the ones that put in all the work for everybody who's really getting paid now. They have a lot of love and respect for. And yeah, go check out the Snow Goons. They've got a
So
pretty big movement. Same thing in the Philippines. There's a cat called Moral Beats who's got a movement right now, and they're doing classic hip hop. Nothing against grime, drill, or trap, or anything else. But
mm,
yeah, man, there's just a lot of respect and a lot of love for that specific art form of hip hop.
you you've done a lot of producing for a lot of locals. You've done some producing for some legends. Can you, well, you can, but will you um give us some insight on maybe some of the biggest records you've done and who you did them for and how they came about?
I told you I'm not a big head dude. I'd rather talk about the local work that I did.
Okay.
There's a lot of people, you know what I mean? I can't speak for other people. I can only speak uh, for myself and the people that I've locally impacted, which really, I'm not trying to be a local hero or anything like that, but I've worked with a lot of Northwest artists, quite a few, and um, there were some misfires, and
Yeah.
there were also some great quality music that came out. You know, I mean, we can talk about the whole Takeover Music Collective. Even though we're not together anymore, they're still very great artists. I believe that they're now with Sound Chamber Productions.
Mm.
Quality, quality, quality artists. Great writers, good songwriters, good songs. Um, let's see. Julie C. Santonio Bandanas from Alpha Platoon. Sos Dior, Savvy Save, Tizzy Teach. Jesus Christ. It's just so many. I've done a lot of songs with a lot of people. I can go
So,
through the names of people. I'm just
so
thankful.
yeah.
I'm still let me saying I'm thankful that I had something to contribute that we shared a moment with.
Who out of the people that you've worked with here in the Pacific Northwest you think has the biggest potential to make something of themselves?
That's a big list. That's a
Because if you're
pretty
not,
big.
because if you're not gonna give me, if you're not gonna give me the legends, Ron, I want to know who out here.
I'll give you a legend. I'll give you Seven the Panther. I'll give you Seven the Panther.
What you think? You
Yeah,
think he has the? He
I
has,
think his discography is ridiculous. And just like anybody that I'm worked with, I'm just happy that I've had the opportunity. His discography is incredible. It's incredible.
but
Even though
he's
go ahead.
old, and
Hmm.
so when I look at that, like Seven's dope, but what about Savvy?
Savvy, Savvy is a whole different animal. And
Tell me
working
about
with
it.
her, oh man, she's just multi-talented. She's not one-dimensional. She's not a
He,
one-dimensional. And hold on. The good thing, and the reason why I say specific names, because just like whether it be Mojo or Double XL from Takeover, these are people who are not the type who'll go somewhere, make a good record, get on stage and bomb. These are people who know the difference between doing a record and being a live entertainer. So you got to remember that you get no money from record sales anymore or streams because they're robbing you as far as streams. Everybody is getting money except for the artists, your merchandise and your live performances. And these
Yep.
are people who get on stage
Mhm.
and they perform their ass off. And I'm not talking about rapping over their vocals and none of that bullshit. These are real MCs. Savvy is one of those. Savvy is one of those. You know what I
And,
mean? She gets
and,
on stage and she shares a moment with the audience.
and so, well, I bring it up because I see that you guys work closely together, the same that you did with Takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even a more, and I mean this purely just musical, and maybe in a more intimate um position, because it's a one-on-one versus a collective, right? So
Right.
what
Just like the few people that I'm working with now. And let
mm,
me give you another honorable mention. Sos Dior. Watch out for that Built Different project that's about to come out.
okay.
He's another one with a discography that's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
But
Um,
when you drop these names, it's like, to me, it's like, do they have the potential to get outside of Seattle, to get outside of Yakima, to get outside of the Tri-Cities, Spokane? Like,
100%, 100%, 100%. Just like Gifted Youngsters,
okay,
Tizzy Teach.
okay.
You know what I mean? Yes, definitely,
Now,
definitely. But
now,
but but with the way, hold on, let me finish. But the way the system is set up now, it's
mhm,
really hard. You have to take what you got outside of your local area and bring it back. You got to do that. You have to
mhm,
because if you don't take that time and share that one on one with the live audience, you
yeah.
don't really get the following on the fans that you want.
And the
Plus,
truth, I was gonna say,
hold
and the
on,
truth, no, go ahead. Sorry.
and plus
Mhm.
being an independent artist, you have to work harder because you don't have a machine behind you. You just have your talent, your wit, and a lot of hard work, but you don't have that machine behind you. You don't have a whole corporation or a company behind you pushing your shit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. I mean,
No, 100%, 100%.
you've
You
got,
got SoundCloud kids that came off.
well, not even just that. I mean, and I just had this conversation with Jada Mack. He's a 14-year-old rapper from California who's blowing up. I'll send you his stuff after this. Like,
Appreciate it.
he's going crazy. But you know, I was telling him about Tech Nine, how Travis O'Gwen put Tech on Jay-Z tour. I don't know if it's Reasonable Doubt or the Blueprint, but Tech was an opener
Yeah.
for the
Mm-hmm.
entire tour. And
Mm-hmm.
his mindset with Travis was, they paid a quarter ticket, man, 250,000 altogether. They've spoken about this. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
thousand. It was like 1,000 to buy on the whole tour, 100,000, sorry, to buy on the whole tour, and now and like almost another 150,000 expenses, a couple cars, hotels, food, all this,
Mm-hmm.
crap, right? And so then they do their solo Tech tours, and then it's 50 people in the crowd. But those 50 people came for Tech, and then the next year 200 people came, and then,
Of course.
and he got to a point to where he's doing a couple thousand people by himself, and Tech's
Yo,
been doing that. Yeah,
what's crazy is he's 100% independent and everything that he's doing is in-house.
and so you can,
In-house.
but see, you can build your own machine. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is like,
Bingo, bingo, bingo.
I
No,
mean,
you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
and
You're
and,
absolutely correct.
and the thing is, like, even though I've had my issues, the Juggalos too, bro. I mean, the Juggalos too. I mean, they really pioneered that whole,
Oh my God. Yes, they did.
you
Yes,
know,
they
like
did.
I'm not
That,
even like, I don't even got to be a hater like that, bro. I don't care about no Shaggy too, though. But you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna throw that out there. You know what I'm saying? 16 months clean and sober with your bitch ass. But anyways, y'all,
yo, check this out. Don't involve me with that.
I'll cut it.
That that's a bigger picture because you're doing different now.
Yeah, I'll cut it. I'll cut it, man. But just
No, no, no. You don't got to cut it because I want them to hear me raw dog spit it.
no, but I'm
Because
telling you,
I'm in recovery. Because I'm in recovery also. I'm 20 years deep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But they still, regardless of my personal opinion of Shaggy Tudo and the way that he went about our business, uh, they built a powerhouse.
They had a serious movement.
And they
They
still
had a
do.
very
They still
serious
they,
and still do.
they still
Yeah.
do. And I
We
mean,
we opened we opened when the three-headed was it three-headed dragon tour or something. We
three-headed
opened
monster.
three-headed
Yeah.
monster tour. It was one of the members of them,
Violent J, Isham, and
R.A. the Rugged Man. And it was R.A. the Rugged Man on that tour also. And we opened
yeah,
for him.
yeah,
And it was
but it wasn't RA. It was Ouija Mac. It was
yeah,
Ouija
yeah, yeah.
Mac.
But I'm saying,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but
all
what I'm
right,
saying is R.A. was a part of the tour also.
yeah.
And we opened for him and it was sold out.
How big was the room?
Um 400 deep.
And see, that's and that when you hear 400, like I would think that's a flop. But being a promoter, I know that still can be a good thing because they are platinum artists. I mean, a lot of these guys are platinum artists. I mean, but the thing is though, and this is a conversation, right? That you brought up earlier in this interview that some of them didn't see some of these acts who pioneered things didn't see that success or may not have seen the level of success as others. I
Yeah,
mean,
100%.
Insane Clown Posse together, the two members as a whole probably do 1,000, 2,000 people on a good night.
Yeah,
But
because a lot of I noticed that they do better shows in the summer because they do festivals. Let me give you another example.
right,
Me me and Gifted Youngsters opened for Bone Thugs and Harmony, right?
right.
Sold out. I think it's a 850 capacity, but they did two shows. They did a show on a Wednesday and a Thursday. Both shows were sold out.
Yeah, but look at who it was.
Well, yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
And the thing is though, too, you got to think about it like this is that you get to a level of success to where it's like you can say what they want. Vanilla Ice does 3,000 people by himself.
Oh, 100%.
You
100%.
know,
Yeah.
but and so would MC Hammer? I don't know, probably not. Would and that's what I'm getting at though. Like there's it also depends on how you got big, you know what I'm saying? And when you got big, who are your
True.
fans? Who are your fans? Like me,
True.
me personally, man, like as a fan, I see a lot of artists that I feel like could be a lot bigger, but it's just how
So
they go ahead.
hold on. You got to remember, a lot of other artists didn't get a lot of the commercial blow up, even though Hammer got the commercial blow up, but Vanilla Ice got an extremely commercial blow
Because
up.
he was white.
I, you can say that. You can say that. Just like Snow. When Snow dropped that joint Informer with Shan, a lot of people didn't know he was white at first. They heard the music first. And then when the video came out, you know what I mean? Where he's no longer allowed in the United States, but they just Daddy Yankee just did a remix version of that.
Man,
And they're still
who Snow is?
yeah,
All right.
yeah, yeah. I know who Snow is.
Okay.
I know exactly who he is. I lived in London, Ontario. I lived in Canada for a couple of years and crossed paths with him. Not
That's
on no
dope.
big shit,
Yeah.
but like London, Ontario is a college town. And
Yeah.
so every other night there's an event going on. And so you just never know, you know what I mean? And this was back in the day where if you had any skill, you could touch a mic. You know what I mean? And we were
Right.
at a place called the Ramp, and he went up there and just started doing his thing. I walked up, and then when he put the mic down, I picked the mic up, and then he picked the mic back up, and I picked the mic back up. So it was a really good exchange. It was a really good exchange. Yeah,
Do you feel that
yeah.
you've had more success as a rapper or a producer?
More as a producer. regardless of how much work I put in, how many battles I won back then. And it really wasn't a big thing to me. It
Do
wasn't a
you
pride or it was never a pride or ego thing, even though it was very uh um I don't want to say the word macho,
yeah,
but there was a lot of pride and ego in spitting, you know.
you're right. And so in your heyday, when you were at the highlight of your producing, whether that may be recently or back when you were working with certain individuals, what's the biggest bag Ready Ron got? And a two-parter to this is when you started seeing money, how did you differentiate what was a quick buck and what was longevity?
Oof. Um, I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of traveling, and it really wasn't music based. It
Mm-hmm.
was all family based.
Sure.
I ended up in Austin, Texas. I ended up in Austin, and Texas has a sound of its own.
Yeah.
Period. They have
Yeah.
a sound of its own. It's incredible. And this was back during the early days of Slab, of Slow Loud and Banging, early days.
Okay.
And Austin, it was Austin. No matter what you may think of New York or any of the other places, Austin is known as the live music capital of the world because of not just Sixth Street, but just period. And so, when visiting there, I was young, and I think I was at my sharpest, and they were having a lot of local contests at some of the clubs, and in some of the neighborhoods, but they weren't expecting me.
And what year was this?
Oh my God, this was late '80s, early '90s.
Oh, so this is like DJ Screw type time, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
but they weren't expecting somebody like really spitting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Really spitting. And this is DJ Screw. This is early um little flip. Early little
Re-
flip.
really back then?
Yeah.
So were you rubbing elbows with those guys at that time? Like,
Indirectly, yes.
can
Indirectly, yes.
can
I
you
didn't know. I didn't realize who they were. They were just always at these events. Now,
Oh,
mind
that's
you,
dope. Okay,
this
okay,
is just like in New York when I would go to the block parties and cats
right,
would get up rapping. I had no idea that they would end up, living legends.
right. So you unknowingly and in your own way, like wasn't trying to, but did like pretty much see a lot of hip hop just grow.
Yeah, because like I said, I did a lot of traveling because
Yeah,
my mom passed away when I was young, and I met family members that I didn't know existed. Me
right,
being her, me being her youngest child, they were real quick to say, "Won't you come visit? Don't threaten me with a good time. I'm on my way." So all these places that I visited, all
right.
these places that I visited, you know what I mean? They had their own, even though it was different, they had their own little movement going. And it wasn't something that was very big or that got out
Mhm.
right away. But I had no idea. I had
Okay.
no idea.
So but what was again to pull back to my original question, with your producing side being what's been more prominent in your career, what was your biggest payday and how did that happen?
That's nobody's business. I don't talk about what's in anybody's pocket. But as far as when I was rapping, I don't know about 10 G's.
What, just off of shows or features or
I would go from battle to battle to battle to battle. And this is all out of state.
so you were making money with the battle raps.
Well, not particularly battling, they were considered contests.
Okay.
Contests. Yeah, where a lot of people were coming up with, coming on stage with dancers and prepared songs, and it was just me, the DJ, a beat
So
machine, and a mic.
so you talking about like the movie Juice in that movie where they have like those competitions and they
Something similar to that. But that was always going on in New York. But you've got to remember when it got outside of New York, there was a whole complete different side of it. You know what I
okay,
mean?
okay,
They just weren't expecting a bar heavy New York rapper with a lot of, you know what
Mm.
I mean? Every time they wrote, they were writing songs. Me, I was just writing 20, 30 pages. So when the beat came on, I just kept, you know what I mean,
So
spitting and spitting and spitting and spitting and spitting and spitting. I wasn't writing songs, I was just writing, you
right.
know?
So down in Texas, when you were rubbing elbows with like Little Flip and you know what I'm saying, all of them indirectly, you know, like they were just rapping, like you guys was doing the same contest, or like how was that going?
Um, Not the contest, but the events. Years ago, 12th Street, um, on Sunday after church, there was a park that everybody went to.
Okay.
And so the DJs would set up out there. The DJs would set up out there. You know what I mean? And it was the first time I ever physically seen a convertible pickup truck. And back then, the sound system shit was completely different because them cats back then, those were the early days of slump because they were their whole flatbed was a whole fucking speaker cabinet.
Mhm.
Because we were into more in New York, we were more into performance vehicles. And I don't mean sports cars, I mean Euros. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
High performance Euros. We put systems in it. We took them apart and put systems in it, but a lot of these cats were building their own shit. And so this every Sunday, you just never know. And so one time I ended up with a family member. We ended up in Houston. Then we ended up in Dallas, and there was a big festival going on. And I had no idea who the fuck they were, and so a
Mhm.
lot of times they would have like they would let cats come up and rap, and it just so happened, because my sister's youngest, oldest two kids, my sister Kathy's kids, Alan and Speedy, was always very Uncle Ron, go up there, Uncle Ron, go up there. I'm like, nah, different style. I'm not gonna be received well. No, Uncle Ron, go up there, go up there. And I was absolutely right. I wasn't received well because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going in. And they're
Yeah.
like, where the fuck did he come from? Because everybody else is doing that sound and that style. You know what I mean? And here
Yeah.
I come out of nowhere. Here I come out of nowhere. And so the one time in Houston, that's when I seen Flip at this little outdoor event. Didn't know, had no idea, had
Yeah.
no fucking idea. And then
So
when we get back to Austin, um, I said, yeah, there was some guy named Flip. It was like Flip, and then they let me hear the tape, and I was like,
mm.
oh yeah, okay, now I get it.
How do you think the styles of, because rap really just has a whole bunch of different genres at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like have they always have these different sounds always been prominent? Like the
Yes and no.
okay,
Yes, everybody had a little style of their own.
sure.
Everybody had a style of their own. But that's the thing that I appreciated more. That's the thing that I appreciated more. And let me backtrack to the basement and Big Tigger. He pulled artists from everywhere.
Yeah, he did.
So you got that variety. You got that variety. And that was the one of the greatest things that I thought in the world because you got to hear and experience how far something that was created in my city, how much, how far it went, how it influenced, and how it evolved. See, because there's a difference between evolution and de-evolution. This bullshit that this is bullshit. Now,
You think so?
I'm not here to knock what anybody does, but I think it's only fair that you give other sounds the opportunity too. It shouldn't just be one direction.
That's true.
I don't think
Yeah.
it should be one direction. I think that other people's stuff should be appreciated just as much. It should be heard and shared with the rest of the world. It shouldn't be controlled in a funnel where you're only getting what they want you to hear.
Yeah.
unless you're a true fan or you come across something by accident.
With that being said, since you're being you're not wanting to open up as far as your financial successes, which I'll respect. When one of my last questions and our last talking points would be advice you would give to people who want to get into producing, and how would they be able to make a living off of this? The best way that you can describe.
First, educate yourself.
On what?
First, educate yourself as far as hip hop. If you're going to do hip hop music, if you're going to do other genres, that's fine. But educate yourself, music theory, things of that nature. Take a light piano class or something so that you, but educate yourself on the history of the machines, not these digital programs, not these digital programs. These digital programs are will fool you because it takes away from the whole art of crate digging. Crate digging is when we took records and we chopped them up ourselves and we created something from nothing, not sitting with a mouse and clicking buttons, actually physically sampling it in and finding it and doing the research. Find out more information about the old MPCs, whether it be the 500 or the 1000. Look into the history of the SB 1200. Look into the history of some of these drum machines because not everything is 808. Not everything is 808. And don't get confused because if it wasn't for the final mix in certain studios, the TR series of the 808, all the sounds were the same no matter what you did to them. You have other drum machines that you could change the tone within the machine. 808, it's a great machine. It's a great machine. But learn the history behind the stuff because when you do that, you'll start digging and reaching further to find more stuff to work with. And that's what'll make you a lot more original because you're willing to reach beyond what's just put in front of you.
So doing your research, then how would you be able to benefit financially? Like if
Because
you're
hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
sure.
Let me answer that before you even start. You can financially benefit more by being more versatile instead of one dimensional, one style, one sound. I make boom bap beats, period. But I can make trap beats. You've heard that. I
Yep.
can make drill beats. You've heard that. I can make grind beats. You've heard that. I've even got a couple of R&B songs out there with people actually singing on it. So you become more than just one dimensional. You become very versatile, which means you're opening yourself up more up here and in here, which means as things evolve, you evolve with it. Like I can go inside right now and ooh, and grab my 1000. I have a couple of vintage drum machines and more for nostalgic purposes. And then all of a sudden, I'll be making a beat and I'll go, oh, that snare is cool. But what if I put the clap from this machine on top of it and thicken up that snare with a clap and make it pop a little more?
And
Yeah, man.
you think being able to do those to do that time that old school feel would open up the horizon for
I
people
think I
trying.
think I think once you know, I mean, once you have the information, there's no excuse for you not to know, because at some point you might end up doing something with more of a, and don't use the word old school, use classic or traditional, because this is the only genre. If you say rock, you don't say old school rock. They say classic rock. If you say jazz, it's not old school jazz, it's classic jazz. You know what I mean? More of a classic sound. I think if you learn and educate yourself with that, then there's nothing that anybody can tell you, and you're capable of more. I know that they're doing classes on people how to teaching people how to make beats. You're still using Like I have an MPC Renaissance, right?
Mhm.
You still have to use a program for that. But for my 1000, all I got to do is put sounds on that floppy, pop it in, load it up, and I'm banging them out. This is why they're making more standalones now, like the newer MPCs, and that just and I can't believe they even teamed up with Native Instruments because even the machine, you had to use a program. You had the pads and everything. You still had to use a computer program. What happens when you don't have a computer program? Then what? Regardless of what you know stuff you have in the machine. Now, what if you have to go and find a CD, a record, a DVD, anything, and you have to pull the snare out of a song, or you find something, you find a old rock band, and you like the drummer's kick, and you have to specifically pull the kick out, where you're actually creating your own drum track and not just the loop that you got from one of these programs or one of these one of these loop libraries that you have online. Then you're capable of doing that. This is why you see, even with a lot of these new beat contests, you'll see guys that are physically playing it live directly into machines without a computer program. Learn how to use standalone machines. It'll only make you better, a better you. That's the advice. Well, I can't even give advice. I can give a suggestion. It'll only make you a better you, and that's my suggestion.
And when they go to sell their product, do you think it'd be better off for them to sell exclusive rights, um, entirely, or should they have their publishing tangible to it as well?
100%. 100%. Be a partner. Be a partner. There was something you had mentioned 50 Cent, where one of the producers he worked with, he said, "Yo, the guy wanted 50,000 for the beat." He was like, "No, let me give you 30,000 and let me give you some publishing." The guy was like, "No, just give me my 50,000." He could have made over 2 million outside of the 30,000 that 50 was willing to give him. So be kind of smart business wise and don't be greedy. Don't think because you're getting this up front now, it ends there. You have
Yeah.
to think because tomorrow's not promised, but you've got to think ahead. You have to think ahead. Most of the stuff that I did, I've sold some beats outright, but most of the things that I've done with other artists, it was more of a joint feature so that we got paid. If there was a
What's it?
sample, if there was a sample that needed to be cleared, okay, well, that needs to be cleared before moving forward.
What's next for Ready Ron?
Oh wow. Um, dinner. Actually, there are 4 projects that I'm working on. Um, and I mentioned their names, and you even brought Savvy's name up. Um, I'm working with Sos Dior. The project is it's yeah, it's gonna be something really, really on classic hip hop. You know what I mean? Then there's Tizzy Teach. We've got a project that's already completely done. We're doing the last of our videos now. There's Gifted Youngsters. Okay, there's Gifted Youngsters. We're working on a project, and like you said, Savvy. But there's a bunch of other stuff that I've done with quite a few other people. I put a project together called Cassette Tape Singles, but I had to bring it down. I'm putting it back out, and it's a single with other artists that I've done that never made the projects, so that it's not wasted.
Sure.
So that it's not wasted. There was a bar in Jada Kiss's one of his verses where he says, "I learned from the OGs, save everything, because you never know when it could be a seed that you plant and it blossoms into something."
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I got a gang of records, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's gonna be that year. But look, man, Ron, I love you, man. I love you long time. I'll chop this up. I'll make this look real nice. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate your time, man. We went a little
I
over the
appreciate I appreciate, hold on, but put this in. I appreciate you because in your life you decided to do different, just like I decided to do different. Regardless of what the world thinks or what other people do or say or think, you can only be responsible for your behavior. So regardless, just keep doing and don't and all that bullshit about, oh, I'm doing big things. Fuck that. Do different things. Because when you do different, then you become better.
absolutely. All right, man.
Yeah.
We out. Ready, Ron, James the Juggernaut, Northwest Jukebox. We out this piece.